So we are looking at the solutions, that is the instructions manual provided by H. Coleman, Clara and Lynn. And this is going to accompany the introduction to algorithms by Corman, Lyserson, Rivest and Steen. So this is copyrighted by these gentlemen and gentlewomen. So let us start. There are questions which have been taken. There are a few questions which are of prime importance. So we'll look after them. First is this chapter 2. We'll start with chapter 2. And the first question is 2.2.2. So consider sorting n number sorted in array A. Okay, we have array A. And now by first finding the smallest element of A and exchanging it with the element in A1. First we have to find the smallest number and then we have to exchange it with A1. Then we have to find the second smallest number of A and exchange it with A2. And just continue this manner for the first n minus 1 elements of A. And write the pseudocode for this algorithm, which is known as selection sort. We have learned about merge sort and insertion sort in the lecture notes and in the discussion. But here we are talking about selection sort. What loop invariant does the algorithm maintain? And why does it need to run for only the first n minus 1 elements rather than for all n elements? Give the best case and worst case running times of selection sort in theta notation, that is order of growth notation. So I hope that you understand what is the question. So let us try to answer this. This is the selection sort. And as it has been said that we replace A1 by the all elements, the smallest element of this. Then the second element, the next one of the smallest means in this the smallest is what is been replaced at A2. So we assign or we refer this length A as n. And for loop will go from 1 to n minus 1 and we'll do it for smallest j. We assign this j2 as a smallest, j as a smallest. And when we run for, so there are two fors and this will run from j plus 1 to n. And we will see these all members. If any number is smallest than that, then we will replace it by this or otherwise we'll exchange. So the algorithm, this maintains the loop invariant that at the start of each iteration of the outer for loop here. This subarray A1 j minus 1. Then a j minus 1. This consists of j minus 1 elements which are from our main array A1 to n only, and this subarray is in sorted order. But after the first n minus 1 elements, the subarray will be A1 n minus 1. So what are these elements from 1 to n minus 1? These are sorted, but they belong to the same initial array, and where an has to be the largest element. The running time is quite simple. If you have two for loops and if you can compute the effort, it will be theta n square for all the cases. Selection sort n square, then insertion sort in worst case again n square, and merge sort order of n log n. This is question 2.4 of the second chapter. How can we modify almost any algorithm to have a good best case running time? Very important question, legitimate question. The answer is we modify the algorithm so it tests whether the input satisfies some special case condition, and if it does, output a pre-computed answer. The best case running time is generally not a good measure of an algorithm. This is how we do it. I hope you understood this question, and we can modify any algorithm to have a good best case running time by this method. So the question is 2.23. Consider linear search again, and let me tell you, linear search is we have number of elements and we search sequentially. The element which is found in the first go means we search sequentially, and in the course of searching, if it is found, we say that this is a linear search. And if we come to the end and it is not found, then we say that the search was unsuccessful. So how many elements of the input sequence need to be checked on the average? Assuming that the element being searched for is equally likely to be any element in the array. So in linear search, we have to find the average case. And also about worst case, what will be the worst case and what are the average case and worst case running time of linear search in theta notation, and justify your answers. This is quite obvious. So the best case is when n is equal to 2, right? And when we have n log n equal to 2, the log 2 is equal to, we have to just put 2 and 2 here. This is n log n, and this is equal to 2 into 1, that is 2. So the best case is, this is how we find it out. Average case, worst case. The best case is when n is equal to 2. You have to go through this linear search to actually find out that how it is going to happen. This is the answer right now. that when this is n log n, and the best case is when we assume that in linear search these numbers are equally likely. So we divide it by 2, and this is only possible when we say that it is number are n and the iterations are log n, right? Log n. Then we have 2.3.4. Insertion sort can be expressed as a recursive procedure as follows. So in order to sort a from 1 to n, we recursively sort a 1 to n minus 1, and then insert an in a sorted array somewhere in this place which is sorted. Write a recurrence for the running time of this recursive version of insertion sort. This we have already done, but for the sake of completion, since it takes this theta n time in the worst case to insert an, we have values from a 1 to n minus 1. Now in worst case, what will happen? This will be inserted in the last, means it will be checked for each and every value, and it will be inserted in the last. So this is the worst case. So number of comparison has to be n. So this is the theta n time for the worst case of insertion. So recurrence would be theta 1 if n equal to 1. If there is only one number, then it can be easily inserted if this are empty. Only one theta 1 constant time will be there. But what about the other case? That will be t n minus 1 plus theta n. That is, this is going to take t n minus 1 time, this effort, and placing it will only take theta n time in worst case. So it will be t n minus 1 plus theta n, and if you try to find it out through your recurrence relationship, you know how to solve this. This will be nothing but the order of n square. Then 2, 3, 5 means fifth question. Referring back to the searching problem 2.1.3, observe if the sequence A is sorted. We can check the midpoint of the sequence against V and eliminate half of the sequence for further consideration. Binary search is an algorithm that repeats this procedure, halving the size of remaining portion of sequence each time. Write pseudocode, either iterative or recursive, for binary search, and argue that the worst case running time of binary search is order of log n. What is binary search? We have certain numbers here. What binary search does? In binary search, the numbers are sorted. So we find out the midpoint and we search an element here or here. If the element to be searched is greater than this element, mid one, then we'll only search this part. If the element here is less than, we'll search only this part. So every time we search, we try to find out the midpoint or mid value. And because these sequences are sorted, we'll go to the left or right. So discarding one side every time. This is called binary search. So what questions has been asked? Let us try to answer it. Okay. We are on to binary search now. It takes a sorted array A, a value V, and a range from low to high of the array, in which we are going to find the value V. This procedure actually compares this V value to the array entry at the midpoint of the range, that is low plus high by 2, and decide to eliminate the half of the range from further consideration. Because these are sorted numbers, we have to go either right or left. Try to search all the values. We give both iterative and recursive versions, which returns either an index I, such that V is at some index I, AI is V, or nil if no entry of A, the value is in between A, low to high. So the initial call to either version should have these values, that is A, V, 1 and N. First we'll try to solve it or represent it by binary search iterative. We'll see whether low is less than equal to high. This is the coming out condition. Then we try to find out the midpoint, do, and we check if V is equal to A mid. We say okay, we have found the value. If V is greater than mid, then we change low to mid plus 1. Otherwise, we change high to mid minus 1. And we return. Then recursive binary search, the same question can be answered in recursive binary search. This will remain same if low is greater than high, then return nil because this is a terminating condition. We'll try to find out the mid, low plus high by 2, and we have to use this floor or ceiling because we are dealing with this array, so we have only integers to be taken care. If V is equal to A mid, then we return mid. If V is greater than A mid, then we recurse. We recurse with what? We recurse with A, V, and now mid plus 1 and high. Otherwise, we recurse with A, V, low and mid minus 1. So this is how we use it or employ recursive technique to binary search. So these both procedures terminate the search successfully when the range is empty, that is low is greater than high. This will only become when there is no checking, no check is left and terminate it successfully if the value v has been found. And based on the comparison of v to the middle point always in the search range, the search continues to be half. So how it is going to perform in the recurrence way? It will be nothing but tn by 2, because every time, if this is tn, I'll show you one level. This is tn, this will be divided into tn by 2 and tn by 2. So this will be a tree structure, and our height would be, the height of the tree will be nothing but log n. So every time if we say some constant time is taken cn, so that will be nothing but order of log n, because log n is the height of the tree. Every time it will take log n into cn, log n to c, sorry, constant to c into log n, that is will take only log n, theta of log n. Sixth question, observe that while loops of line 5 to 7 of insertion sort, we have seen in our discussion video that insertion sort in section 2.1 uses a linear search to scan through the sorted array. So linear scan is taken inside this insertion sort. So can we use binary search instead to improve the overall worst case running time of insertion sort to order of n log n? Because insertion sort, as we have said, it is going to take order of n square. So is there any chance of using binary search to make it more worthwhile? This while loop, in this insertion we have a for loop, and then inside we have a while loop. So the while loop of procedure insertion sort, it scan backward through the sorted array j minus 1 to find appropriate place for j, because it has to search each and every value to find it appropriate place. It will be checked for every value. The hitch is, or the problem is that the loop not only searches for proper place of aj, but it also moves each of the array elements that are bigger than aj, one position to the right. So it inserts the value. It is actually an insertion sort. So it is not even only checking, it is inserting also. So these movements can take an order of, say, if you have j elements, that will be oj, order of j, which occurs when all the j minus 1 elements preceding aj are larger than aj. Any value which is there, you can make it jx or anything. We can use binary search to improve the running time of search to order of log j, but this binary search will have no effect on the running time of the moving elements. How? Because we have to move the elements also. So binary search alone cannot improve the worst case running time of insertion sort, because actually the idea is very different. In insertion sort, we have values here. We check a value, though this is linear searching, but we also insert and shift. So once this inserting and shifting is going on, then the binary search would not be of any use. Seventh question is, describe a order of n log n time algorithm that gives a set s of n integers and another integer x, and determines whether or not there exists two element in S whose sum is exactly S. So we have to describe a algorithm which is n log n. So we have to find out whether the summation of these two elements is X or not. So let us see how we are going to solve it. So first of all, sort the element in S. Then we form the set which is Z is such that Z is equal to X minus Y for all Y which is belonging to S. We sort the element in S dash now. And if any value in S appears more than once, we remove all but one instance and do the same for S dash. We then merge these two sorted sets S and S dash. And there exist two elements in S whose sum is exactly S if and only if the same value appears in consecutive positions in the merged output also. Let us justify the claim we have set up in step 4. We need to observe that if any value appears twice in merged output, it must appear in consecutive positions. So we can restate the condition 5, that is merging of two sorted sets S and S dash, that there exist two elements in S whose sum is exactly S, X, if and only if this same value appears twice in the merged output also, right? So suppose that some value W appears twice. Let us take any value. So this W appeared once in S and once in S dash, of course. So since W appeared in S dash, there exists some Y also which belong to S, such that W plus Y is X, or W is equal to S minus Y, like this. This W is belonging to S only. So W and Y are in S, so sum would be X. We can take another converse approach also. Let us suppose that there are values W and Y which belong to S, such that W plus Y is X. Then X minus Y, what this will be W? So the value W appears in S dash. So W is in both S and S dash. So it will appear twice in the merge output, right? So this step 1 and 3, sorting them, would require order of n log n steps. The other steps 2, 4, 5, 6, they would require order of n steps. So the overall running time would be order of n log n. This is how we have devised order of n log n to find out this answer. So we have the question like insertion sort on small arrays in merge sort. Insertion sort on small array in merge sort. So although this merge sort runs in order of n log n, worst case time, insertion in order of n square in worst case time. The constant factors in insertion sort make it faster for small n. If number are small, insertion sort is faster. It makes sense to use insertion sort within merge sort when problems become sufficiently small. So just consider a modification to merge sort in which n by k sublist of length k are sorted using insertion sort, and then you merge them using the standard merging mechanism where k is a value to be determined. The first question asked is show that this n by k sublist, each of k can be sorted by insertion sort in order of nk verse time. Then we have to show that the sublist can be merged in order of n log n by k verse time. Then we have to give that given that the modified algorithm runs in order nk plus order of n log n by k worst case time, which is large asymptotic, that is theta notation value of k as a function of n, for which the modified algorithm has some same asymptotic running time as this standard merge sort order of n log n. And how should k be chosen in practice? Okay, this is quite a question and we are going to solve it step by step. Now insertion sort, it is given that it takes order of k square time per k element list in the worst case. So the sorting of n by k list of k element will be taking what? K square into n by k, that is this one, we cancel k and k. So it will be order of nk worst case time. The second one is just by extending this two list merge to merge all the list at once would make what? Order of n into n by k, that will be order of n square by k. So n for copying each element once into the result list, and this n by k for examining n by k list at each step to select the next item for the result list. And we want to achieve order of n log n by k. This is the time for merging. So we merge the list pairwise, then again merge the resulting list pairwise, and so on until we find a one list. This pairwise merging requires order of n work at each level. So we are still working on n elements, even they are partitioned among sublists. So the number of levels starting with this n by k list with k elements in each list and finishing with one list, only one number with n elements, that is order of log n by k. So the total running time of merging would be this log n by k into n, so n log n by k. Then we have this C part, that is the question being asked, that the modified algorithm has same asymptotic running time as standard merge sort, that is order of nk plus n log n by k, that is n log n. This largest asymptotic value of k as a function of n, that is satisfied the condition that is k equal to n log n. And we need to see why. Let us observe that k cannot be more than order of log n. Why? Because it can't have higher order term than log n. The left hand expression wouldn't be order of n log n. Why? Because it would have a higher order number. It will only have n log n. So all we need to do is to verify that k is equal to order of log n works or not, which we can do by just plugging k equal to log n inside this. So order of nk plus n log n minus n log k. That will be order of n log n plus n. This will become as n 2n log n minus n log of log n. And by taking just the higher order term, ignoring the constant coefficient here, this one, we say that the order is n log n. So in practice, what happens? K should be the largest list length on which this insertion sort is faster than the merge sort. Then we come to this bubble sort. Bubble sort is a popular sorting algorithm, and it works by repeatedly swapping adjacent elements that are out of order. So what we do, there are two for loops here. We start with 1 to length a, and then we start from j to length a down to I plus 1. We check for each and every value, and depending upon this less than or greater than condition, we exchange them. So let a dash denote the output of bubble sort, and we have to prove that bubble sort is correct. We need to prove that it terminates, and when we find out the value, they are in this order, means ascending order. And n is nothing but the length of a, and what s must be proved to show this bubble sort actually sorts. Then we have we need to state precisely a loop invariant for loop in line 2 and 4, 2 to 4, and prove that this loop invariant actually holds. And your proof should use the structure of the loop invariant proof present in the chapter. C is using the terminating condition of the loop invariant proved in part B. We need to state a loop invariant for loop in line 1 to 4, which allow you to prove inequality. And your proof should use the structure of the loop invariant proof presented in this chapter. Then what is the worst case running time of bubble sort? How does it compare to the running time of insertion sort? So this question is about bubble sort. That is also a very good algorithm, but the running time is quite high. So let us try and answer them sequentially. First was, we need to show that the element A dash form a permutation of elements of A. B is loop invariancy. So at the start of each iteration for loop, we have seen in line 2 to 4. Here, 2 to 4. The minimum of AK, that is J to K, will belong from J to N for the second loop. AJ we assign. And this subarray from J to N is a permutation of values that were in AJN only at the time that the loop started. So the initialization would be, actually J is equal to 1 only in the initial case. So the subarray AJN consists of a single element, A1 or AN. So the loop invariant trivially holds for initialization condition. Then maintenance. We consider an iteration for a given value of J, and just by the loop invariant, AJ is the smallest value in AJ1. When this line 3 and 4, this exchanges AJ to AJ minus 1. This is the exchange condition. So if AJ is less than AJ minus 1, and so AJ minus 1 will be the smallest value in this list afterward. Since the only change in the subarray, this subarray, is this possible exchange, and the array AJN is permutation of the value that were already in AJN at the time that the loop started, we see that from J minus 1 to N, this is a permutation of the value that were in this list only at the time that that loop started. So we decrement J for the next iteration, it maintains the invariancy. What about termination condition? The loop terminates when J reaches I. See, this is done till this is going from 1 to length A, and this is going from J. So J will take a value to I plus 1. So what is happening? The loop is terminating when J reaches I. So by the statement of loop invariancy, we know that minimum of AK is AI only. And AI to N is a permutation of the value that were in I to N only at the time that the loop started. Finally, the loop invariancy at the start, we have seen that line 1 to 4, this is, we are talking about the C part of the question being asked. So at the start of each iteration for this loop 1 to 4, we have a subarray which consists of I minus 1 values, which are smallest values originally in this array, which are sorted order. And we have I to N consist of this N minus I plus 1 value, you can find it out. And the remaining values were originally in A to 1 only, 1 to N only. So let us initialize. Before the first iteration of the loop, I equal to 1. This subarray, 1 to I minus 1 is empty. And simply the loop invariancy trivially holds. And in the maintenance part, we consider an iteration of a given value I. And by loop invariancy, this I1 to I minus 1, this consists of I smallest value of 1 to N in unsorted order. And we have seen in part B that after executing this for loop from 2 to 4, AI is the smallest value in this range. So A from 1 to I is now the I smallest value originally in 1 to N in sorted order. Also, since this for loop of lines 2 to 4 permutes AIN and subarray AI plus 1N, this consists of N minus I values originally in A1N. Finally, the termination, the for loop of lines 1 to 4, as we have seen in the question, this terminate when I becomes N plus 1. So I minus 1 equal to N. By this, the statement of the loop invariancy A1 to I minus 1 is the entire array 1 to N only, and consists of originally the value 1 to N, which is of sorted order. So this is how we are going to solve this C part. Now coming to D. The running time depends on the number of iterations for loop. I told you already that there are 2 for loops. So for a given value I, this loop takes N minus I iteration, and this I again takes on the value 1 to N. The total of number of iterations would be nothing but N minus I sigma 1 to N. That will be 1 to N, N minus 1 to N I. What will this be? N square. And this is simply the summation of 1 plus 2 plus till N, that is will be arithmetic series N plus 1 by 2. And if we join them, that will be N square by 2, and this will be running time of order N square only. Now we come to inversions. This is the question in your textbook of Common. Inversions. So let A be an array of n distinct numbers and I is, if I is less than j, ai is greater than aj, then the pair ij is called the inversion of A. For I less than j, ai is greater than aj. These are indexes, these are the values in this indexes. So this is the phi inversion of the array 2, 3, 8, 6, 1. And what arrays with element form the set 1 to n has the most inversions and how many does it have? C is what is the relationship between the running time of insertional sort and the number of inversions in the input array, and justify your answer. Then given an algorithm that determines the number of inversions in any permutation on n elements in order of log and worst case time, just modify your merge sort. Okay, one by one we are going to solve it. So the first answer would be, we were asked that phi inversion of array 2, 3, 8, 6, 1. So if I is less than j, that means these are the indexes. I is less than j and aj is greater than ai is greater than aj. 2, 3, 8, 6, 1. So 2, 3, 8, 6, 1. 2, 3, 8, 6 and 1. So the first one would be 1 and 5. See, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See, 1 and 5. So we are talking about number 2 and 1. So 1, this index 1 and 5. 1, this 5 is greater than 1, but the number is less. So I hope that you got the idea. So the next value will be 2, 5, 3, 4, 3, 5 and 4, 5. The previous question was, what array with the elements form the set 1 to n has the most inversions and how many does it have? So the array with element from 1 to n with the most inversion is just you can invert it, right? N2, we start with n and end with 1. For all I and j which is lying between 1 and n and they are equal to, there is an inversion. So the number of inversion would be nothing but n minus 1 by 2. So this is the answer. C was, what is the relationship between the running time of insertion sort and the number of inversions in the input array? Justify your answer. So let us suppose that array A starts out with an inversion kj. And of course, k is less than j, that means ak is greater than aj. So at the time that the outer for loop of lines 1 to 8 in this insertion sort, when we assign this aj to key, the value that started with ak is still somewhere to the left of aj. That is, it's in ai only, where I will be inside 1 and j. So the inversion has become ij. So some iteration of the while loop in insertion sort moves this ia to one position to the right. So eventually we drop key to the left of this element, thus eliminating the inversion. And since some line in insertion sort move only elements that are less than key, it moves only elements that correspond to the inversion. So in other terms, each iteration of the while loop of lines 5 to 7 in insertion sort, this corresponds to the elimination of one inversion. Okay, D was, given an algorithm that describes or determines the number of inversion in any permutation on n elements in order of n log n worst case time. We know order of n log n is merge sort. Let us try to modify it. So let us first answer it like this, that we follow the hint of modify sort to count the number of inversion in order of n log n time. To start, let us define a merge inversion as a situation within an execution of merge sort, in which this merge procedure, after copying A, P to L in left and half part in left, half part in right, the value x in L and y in R, such that x is greater than y. Consider the inversion now. Ij means if x equal to ij and y equal to aj, then I is less than j, that means x is greater than y. And we claim that if we were to run merge sort, there would be exactly one merge inversion involving xy. So we need to observe that the only way in which array elements change their position is within this merge procedure only, not in that merge sort position. Since merge keeps element within L in the same relative order in each other, correspondingly in R also left part and right part, the only way in which two elements can change their ordering relative to each other is for the greater one to appear in L and the lesser one to appear in R, right part. So there is at least one merge inversion including x and y, and to see that there is exactly one such merge inversion, we observe that after any call of merge that involves both x and y, there are in the same sorted subarray, and that will therefore both appear in L and both appear in R in any given call thereafter. So we have proven the claim we have claimed. So we have shown that any inversion implies one merge inversion. The correspondence between inversion and merge inversion is 1 to 1 only. So suppose we have merge inversion which involves this x and y, where x originally was ai, y was aj, and we have merge inversion that is x greater than y. Since X is in left part, Y is in right part, X must be within subarray preceding the subarray containing Y. So X started out in a position I preceding Y, original position J. So this Ij is an inversion. So the one-to-one correspondence between inversion and the merge inversion. So it suffices to us to count on merge inversions. Let us consider merge inversions which involve Y in R and let Z be the smallest value in left, means that is greater than Y. When we are merging the process, Z and Y will be exposed value in left and R, L and R part. So we say that Z is Li and Y is Rj. So there will be a merge inversion involving Y, that is Li till L n 1 and these are number of n minus I plus 1 merge inversions. This will be only once which is involving Y. So we need to detect the first time that Z and Y becomes or this is becoming exposed during the merge procedure, and we add the value n1 minus I plus j at that point to our total count of merge inversions. So this is the pseudocode modeled on our merge sort, works as we have just described. So it also sorts the array A. This is actually if the coming out condition, we consider count inversion APR. These are inversion, we start with 0. Then we find out the midpoint and we add this inversion to the count inversions. Count inversion APQ, Q plus 1 R and then APQR. Okay, P to Q, Q plus 1 R and APQR. Whole of this. We try to merge them. And we add inversions every time. So this is how we return the inversions. This is the merge inversion algorithm. Pretty not very easy to understand, but still, since for the sake of completion, it totally depends on merge sort only. These are the inversions we have used. These are inversions, and we have counted them. Again, we have counted the inversions here and added them as and when required, and we returned to the inversions. So the initial call is nothing but count inversions like this. And in merge inversion, this boolean value counted, which we just showed you, it indicates whether we have counted the merge inversion involving Rj, and we count them for the first time for both Rj, which is exposed, and the value of which is greater than Rj, it becomes exposed in the left array also. So we set this counted to false upon each time that a new value becomes exposed to R, and we don't have to worry about merge inversions because we have a sentinel call infinite in R, which is going to fight and win every value, whether it is R or L. Since we have added only a constant amount of additional work to each procedure, that is inversion added to each iteration for the last for loop of the merging procedure, the total running time of the above pseudocode will be similar to the merge sort, only in longer. So this was the solution to our Corman book, chapter 2. Thank you so much. Take care.